everybody, and welcome back to another video. So this one's gonna kind of be a little drifting off to the side of kind of like true crime and my past. This actually has to kind of do with the present, because somebody emailed me a question, and we had a discussion and stuff, but the question that she asked was, well, I mean, technically it's two, but it's all tied together. Do I regret telling people my story, and do people treat me differently? And first of all, I don't regret telling my story, or a part of my history of my past. I mean, again, if somebody can learn from it and not feel alone, or is just dealing with a hard time, you know, I'm very thankful that I was able to have the platform and the ability to talk, even if it's to a small group of people. Now, do people treat me differently? Yes and no. So let me break it off. So I have some really close friends. We used to work together, and they never have treated me differently. They treated me as an equal. You know, they are aware that you know, I do have a past, and if I want to talk about it, they know that I can come to them. But they don't treat me like damaged goods. They don't treat me any differently. They don't treat me like my past could affect my present, basically. They don't, you know, try to handle me. Whereas there are some people in my life that are close to me, that I've known for some time and whatnot, that do. And, you know, of course it does affect relationships, you know, it does affect, you know, the way of how I think of things, because, you know, there are people in my life that, again, you know, I talk about it. Like, sometimes I say, well, maybe my past is, you know, affecting certain things. But some people, they just treat me like I'm broken, like I'm damaged, like I can't handle anything, that they always have to question, they always have to ask. And it's exhausting being treated like I'm damaged goods, that I'm not good enough, you know, that they can't accept who I am, that I'm a strong person. Now, they could be grieving for the past me, or they could be dealing with their own trauma related to it because they were, you know, friends with me during that time. And, you know, that's the hard part, because they have to deal with their trauma that came from it, you know, of not seeing it and, you know, not being there and not asking more questions. And I don't hold anybody, like, I don't hold that against anybody. Like, I never have and never will, but I do know that people carry guilt, and they carry their own trauma that's related to, you know, my trauma, you know, even though it's a different trauma, and that could affect them, you know. And, you know, people do have past relationships where, you know, they were with a person that maybe had a bad upbringing or a trauma, but they were like complete opposites of me. They were very outgoing. They, you know, in certain aspects they were really, really outgoing, and then whereas me, I'm the polar opposite. That in certain things I'm not outgoing. It's not a big priority of mine. And it's a polar opposite, right? So I do realize how hard that can be for some people, and how they feel like they have to handle the situation and always ask and constantly ask, or point out things, or bring up my trauma, or, you know, relate it back to, like, you're this way because of your trauma, or you're doing this because of your trauma, or I have to do this because of your trauma. And even though no matter how many times I say, no, just go forth and do whatever, like, it doesn't bother me. If something comes up and there's a situation where, you know, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I will say, it doesn't matter to them. They always have to, they feel like they have to work around my trauma. They have to work around that I'm damaged goods, you know, they always have to do something. And it's very tiring and exhausting for me, because it brings it back to the whole aspect of, you know, I was kind of sitting like last night before I went to bed, and I was thinking about this because actually perfect kind of timing. I was actually having a conversation with a close person in my life, and then I got this email that exact same night, and it was quite interesting because I just remember just sitting there last night and just thinking about all of this and being like, well, you know, that's very interesting how it's all connected, right? And, you know, a common thing that I thought back to is like, this is what my abusers wanted. They wanted me to feel like nobody could love me for me, right? They only see the trauma, they only see the damaged goods. That's exactly what my abusers wanted. They wanted nobody to love me. And, you know, I'm not putting that on anybody, but, you know, I have worked through my trauma. I know that there's certain aspects of me that are damaged and that are never going to be good enough for anybody. And that's just a fact. I mean, there are certain things that I'm not capable of doing or have the function of doing. That's just what it is. Or I have a hard time expressing certain things or going through certain things because that's just what it is. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop and just, you know, fall to pieces. It means that I'm willing to work through it, whereas other people in my life aren't. You know, they're not willing to take that chance. And it just kind of feels like you're stuck. And I get that because, again, just because I'm dealing with trauma of my situation doesn't mean people around me aren't dealing with, you know, their trauma related to the situation. Even though it's different, it's still somewhat related. And if they're not willing to work through their stuff and their trauma and always put it on me, that's not fair. You know, it's not fair to put it all on me, you know, not to blame me, but kind of just be like, well, this is happening because of your trauma type of thing. And I bring it up too, like, hey, I'm, you know, because of what I went through, I have certain issues with stuff. I bring it up. I'm not, and I just don't say, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to say, I always say, you know what, because of my trauma, I have difficulty doing this, but that doesn't mean I'm not willing to work it. Okay, maybe we can try this type of thing. I'm very, you know, I'm a very logical thinker, and I like to, you know, give solutions to different situations, which might not be good for other people. I get that and respect that. Again, it's just, you know, it's kind of feeling like that's all people see in me is that damage and the trauma that I went through. And it can be frustrating, you know, because you as a person want to move on. You as a person want to grow and you want to live and express, but you kind of feel stuck at the same time, you know? And you could be growing at a different rate than another person, and you're willing to move, not past it, but like through it, and willing to work with it, whereas people they can be stuck, and sometimes stubborn, but they're stuck because they don't know how to go through their trauma. They don't want to work through it. They rather kind of just be like, well, it's your fault. You went through this, so, you know, this is on you. You have to do this. You have to work on this. You have to tell me. And even though I say, hey, I'm okay with this, like, whatever, hey, maybe I'll have a bad day in the future, you know, and it might make me uncomfortable, but they're not willing to take that chance. And I think that's it's hard because you just don't know what you're going to do because you just sometimes feel like that's all that they see in you, you know, is what my trauma is and what was done to me. That's all that they can see, you know. They can't see me as the person. All they can see what was done to me. And it's I don't know. And I get it. Like, people deal with things differently. They deal with things that sometimes are out of their hands and they don't know how to deal with it, or they're very hands-on. People can be polar opposites, and it's refreshing when I can just be me, and not have anything tied to that. And, even with those people that, are having those difficulties, or they are making me feel stuck, there are fantastic moments where, like, we're laughing and we're having a good time, and then all of a sudden it just gets, turned because they want to talk about something I'm not doing right, or something that they want, and that it's, they know it's a difficulty for me. And then, not that I have anything wrong about people talking about past relationships. Like, that, I don't know, I'm an oddball, but, like, I get that people have history, and if they want to talk about their exes, like, not in a, I'm still in love with them type of way, but, like, they could have trauma and problems that they worked through because of a past relationship, right? But kind of being like, well, not that they're comparing, but you feel like you're like, well, I'm a complete opposite of that person. Like, I mean, she seems like a cool chick and someone I could get along with, but goddamn, we are polar opposites. And they were able to do a lot more than what I'm capable of doing. And yeah, sometimes I get frustrated and I blame myself and I get angry and I just, I get frustrated with myself because I feel like, hey, this is your fault type of thing. Like, I put the blame on me, and then I have to stop and realize and be like, hey, I get it. You are dealing with stuff. Like, this is me talking to myself, okay? Like, I get it. You're dealing with stuff and trauma. And yes, it's very hard for somebody to deal with and love somebody like that. But if they're not willing to just, I get it. People run out of patience, okay? And I get that, people have needs and wants, and sometimes I'm not capable of giving out those needs and wants. It's just, that's just the situation, and things make me a little bit uncomfortable, and I get it, and sometimes I don't handle those situations in the best way because I get shit scared, or it's like, well, if I don't do it this, like, I'm a bad human being type of thing. It's not that they're guilt tripping me, I'm guilt tripping myself, and I literally do not handle the situation the best way. I roll my eyes, I let out a huff. It's not the best way. I get that. And just sometimes when you're putting all this pressure on yourself, you don't come off as the most enthusiastic person about certain things, right? I'm not saying it's all on this person or people in my life in general, or just people out there. I mean, I take responsibilities. I tend to sometimes be a little awkward in situations that I don't know how to handle or deal with, right? And then it gets placed in my lap. Okay, it says, well, it's in your hands. You come to me. And then it's like, oh great, like it's that pressure of like, holy shit, now I have to put myself out there. I have to do this something, like I have to. There's no like, they want to, or they want it, like, so you have to do it. And I get it, I get that pressure that people put on themselves. I do it, and you get locked jaw and you get locked muscles, and you stress and you panic and the anxiety has risen. And then on top of it, it's like there's a pandemic. So things change, and I have to put certain people in my life top priority due to health reasons and the pandemic. And to some people that can be frustrating. I get that. Again, some people's needs and wants are really, really high up there, and you feel like you have to try to please everybody, and you just are exhausted, right? Because you want to protect those people in your life that you have to, and yet you have people in your life that are, frustrated, or, they say that they get it, right? They get that there's a pandemic, but like those things that I can do to, help them or whatever. And it's just this like push and pull type of thing. And then you put that pressure back on yourself, and you're just like, oh my God, like they were right, nobody's gonna love me for me. And yeah, there are times where I think that, and sometimes I think that's true. And I have to kind of put a pause on that and just, I am not one to compare to people, but sometimes I get very envy of people that do have past trauma, that have been through not something similar to me, but have been through their own abusive relationship. And I see how they have overcome those struggles, and they deal with the trauma and the damage every day, and yet they find people in their lives that understand and accept that, and they have these amazing lives. And I'm just very envy of that sometimes, of being like, wow, there are people that can see past the trauma and are willing to, grow with you and love you. And I get that. Like, there are people in my life like that, right? But there comes at a crossroad where it's like they have to deal with their trauma related to whatever my trauma is, even though it's not the same trauma, and the guilt and the anger that comes with it, because you just feel stuck sometimes. And it's just like, I want to grow as a person. I want to explore and have all of these experiences, but just sometimes you just feel stuck. And that's okay. I mean, there are always going to be people in your lives that they see past your trauma. And then there's going to be some people that can't see past your trauma. And, you can love both those people and all those people in your life. It's just trying to find the balance that's good and healthy for you. It's not an easy solution of being like, yeah, I'm just going to throw those people that, can't see past my trauma out of my life. That's not fair. Especially if you have history with them and you've come a long way with growth with them. You kind of have to find and support them through their trauma. And then, I have those people where I can be carefree and just be me and silly and, not be seen through that damaged and trauma lens type of thing, It's just trying to find that balance. And sometimes it's very difficult, guys. And again, it's not an easy solution. I mean, there is hardly any easy solutions in life. It's what you do with those people in your lives and those roadblocks that come up and those hills and those mountains. Sometimes it's very exhausting. I get that. And you just have to be willing to work through it and talk through it. And, sometimes those people in your life, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen, and that's okay. And sometimes you find another way of communicating, and those people get pissed off at you because it's like, well, why didn't you come talk to me about it? And it's like, well, I did, but you just didn't listen, type of thing. And then, you know, sometimes it's that communication that gets lost in sometimes communication, which doesn't make sense, but it's a very sticky road, life, especially through a pandemic. Yay, because that just adds extra stress. But anyways, guys, this is kind of my little spiel, and I hope, you know, this answers the question that was in the email. Well, 2 of them, but I basically sent this to the email too, just, you know, to have a copy of Heard, and then this. But yeah, I'm loving, guys, the open communication of emails. I love them. And I'm very thankful that we can have that. And for those who are dropping comments, thank you for being respectful of people's lives and privacy. And I'm very thankful, guys, that we can have this safe, healthy community. Anyways, guys, remember, never give up, always keep fighting. You're enough, and you're very much loved. Until the next video, guys, stay safe and spread some more love. Okay, that was cheesy, but anyways, oh yeah, and happy Valentine's Day, because today's Valentine's Day. Not a very healthy topic, but to have on Valentine's Day, but hey, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, guys, till the next video, bye.